Hi, folks. I'm under the weather, so there won't be much talking of me today. Most likely, I'm going to do Algo Factory, and then after Algo Factory, do the Bella show. Then I'm going to probably cancel my appointments for the rest of the day and call it quits and just get some R&R. So
You're
that
not
being
going to
said,
get
listen.
your mani pedi.
No, I rescheduled that, dude. That and my banana facials. That sounds
I was
gay.
just, you're not going to get your grundle waxed.
No, my Brazilian waxing is for next week. It's a full body wax. You know, they take one giant wax paper and I roll in it, and then they unfurl me, and all the hairs come ripping off my body, man. It's amazing. It's quite the process. But listen, if you guys are, if you want more than just hairy ape jokes, you want to learn the insides of trading. You want to learn how you can build an algorithm that can work for you on your behalf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You want to be able to fire your boss, be free, or sit on an island like in Bali and pick lint from your belly button while making money. Then you need to join right here, algofactory.tech. Trade your job, upgrade your life. And with that being said, Cowboy, let's get into it.
Yeah, that's the shit, isn't it, right there?
Good. That was a good pitch with me being under the weather.
I was gonna say, dude, that you had some that had some turbo behind it, dude. That was good stuff.
Oh, wow, must be the Mucinex I'm on.
Yeah, Mucinex, dude. I remember that from back in the day.
Yeah,
that was I remember Mucinex doing actually a pretty good job of getting rid of mucus, but I try to avoid I try to avoid anything that's not natural at this point. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. A lot of stuff works really well, but I just try to avoid it. It's as a habit.
I use a very integrative approach.
Yeah, I just smoke crack.
That's even better, man. Hey, Obama smokes crack and he smokes pole, so
yeah. That's coming out nowadays. Well, I don't know. I mean, a lot of his base is fine with that. I'm not sure why, that didn't come out sooner. But
he'll probably be lauded as a hero.
Yeah, they'll reelect him.
Hold on. Now, a lot of these people are saying that I was out there smoking crack. Some guy named Larry Sinclair, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not ashamed of being gay. I'm taking dick and I smoked it. And it's okay. And this is why I call Michelle Big Mike.
Big Mike. I'll tell you what, when it comes to like, our original base is kind of like a classical liberal base. If you want to, look at the way we don't care what people do.
We don't care.
We don't care. I mean, I'd say
stuff on us.
Yeah, like you do you.
Yeah.
You do us. Like there's no
Dude, nobody cared about this crap in the 90s, bro.
No one cares, and no one should care.
No one cares.
No one should care either way. It should just be you want to be a certain way, go be that way. It's just it.
Now they have these young idiots convinced that there's some sort of a genocide going on.
I don't want to get too far into that whole thing. I mean, look, it's it's. I'll tell you what about charts, right? Like they don't care what you think. Charts don't care if you are, left. Charts don't care if you're right. Charts don't care if you're concerned about, trans this or whatever. It just doesn't matter. And that's the great thing about charts is you could be anybody of any political anything, and you can trade, and ain't nobody gonna fire you. And that's the beauty, because there might be a time where just having I know in Europe, if you say the wrong thing about the wrong group of people, they come knocking at your door now. It's like it's not 1984 over there, it's hate crime to say the wrong thing. We could say something here, and maybe maybe a platform will make us erase a video or deplatform. But no one's gonna come knocking on our door, right? No one's gonna come knock.
Yeah, it's not the UK.
Yeah, UK, Sweden. I think Sweden that's going on. But here, it ain't like that. Now, I'm not saying, and I hope it stays that way here. I think it will, especially in a red state. I think people's freedom of speech is not going to be hampered in the future. But, under any circumstance, if you have the internet and, you can trade, and it really doesn't matter who you are. No one's going to not hire you because you're a certain religion or a certain any color, whatever. And even though that's not supposed to be that way in the real world, it's there is bias in hiring, and I'm not going to say which way there is bias because there's bias both ways. Let's be fair about that. But the reality here is that when you trade, no one cares. No, your broker ain't asking. do you like the same sex, or the broker doesn't care. The broker's like,
So tell
nothing.
me. Exactly.
No, the brokers may ask you if you're a politically exposed person. That's another story altogether.
That's about it.
That's about it. That's all they care about. And that means, like, do you work for campaigns and things like that. Let me show. We're going to talk about politicians and their trades. I know I brought this up before, but there's a really good tool where you can actually see what the most recent trades are from politicians. I've mentioned it here in the last week or two, but look, if you want to trade with the smart money trades, then just do. I mean, look, politicians make policy and they're allowed to trade. So basically, as a politician, you could that you're in negotiations to make some kind of a deal for some company, and you can invest in that company beforehand. There's nothing illegal about that. It should be illegal if the rest of us can't inside trade, then politicians should not be able to inside trade, right? If politicians can inside trade, then the rest of us should be able to inside trade, right?
But how dare you? Don't you understand that Nancy Pelosi is a brilliant trader, that she's probably one of the most technical traders, her macros and her technicals blows you and me away, bro.
Well, she like me, she deserves to make that money because she spent thousands of hours in front of the screen learning how to do this. So because she put in the work,
right,
she should be allowed to make this money, right? Isn't that true? Oh, it's not true. Yeah. Oh, she didn't put in the work. She can go fuck herself. All right. So speaking of that, we have something I'm going to bring up now on the screen. And this is a really cool website. And I'm going to show, I've brought it up before. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about how to work it. Right. And then we have Trev, one of our private clients, is going to actually be we'll call him our guest of honor. He's not a guest though. He's part of Algo Factory. So he actually belongs with us. And if, anybody who works with us belongs with us, I think everybody belongs with us. No one's a guest. But we're going to go over his algo in the private group today. So he's actually been coding his own indicators, and I've been taking a look at his algo, and we're going to do some work on that today. So after the after this public group is over in the next 20 minutes, we're going to flip over to the private group. I've got his algo. I've got his code on my machine. It's an easy thing to do to move your code from one machine to another. Trading View it makes that they design that way. And we're going to take a look at his algo. It's going to be real fun. So I'm about to share the screen now. You should be able to see it. What you're looking at is a website called Capital Trades, right? So if I just go to Capital Trades, it goes to the home screen. And you've got, your insights, featured politicians, featured issues, some news. You got like your statistics per state. A lot of trading out in California, New York, of course, but actually California is where the most trades are. So a lot more politicians trading there. But then you got Texas politicians numbers wise is next. There's 7 politicians and a little bit more trades than New York. And of course you got New York State. Anyhow, so you got these stats, but what's the most important, if you ask me, is on the top left of this screen. You got the latest trades. You see that? See latest trades. So what I'm going to do is go to the top here, and let me see if I'm even zoomed in on this. I should be. Yeah, zoomed in pretty well. So on the top here, there's trades. You click on trades, and then you can find by politician. For me, the most interesting trade was by how new it is, right? So you got published. How do we do that? I did this yesterday. So here it is. On the top right, you have this little down arrow on the top right over here, and you click on that. And I want to sort for trade date with the newest trade first, because when you trade, you want the most recent data. Okay. So we have here on 17 August, which is, just less than 2 weeks ago, you have Mike Garcia buying U.S. Treasury bonds. Okay. Not the most, poignant trade. But you got Gary Connolly over here and selling Dominion Energy Inc. And that was on 15 August. So 2 weeks ago, you have Connolly selling Dominion Energy, and this has been available for 3 days now, this information. So it's, it's not like incredibly up to date, but at the same time, I mean, these guys, chances are they're trading on the macro. So, like look at Pete Sessions, right? You can see here that he traded on 15 August. He bought Ares Capital Corp, right? So the ticker on that is ARCC. So I'm going to look into that. So he traded here, he bought it, and he actually lost money. But these guys, they're probably buying based on, I'd say, good information, if you will. It says $156. If that's true, it's a rather small trade. Perhaps, I don't know what that's about. But you can see that it went up later. It went up a little bit later, starting on August 21st. And you know what? Stocks haven't been doing all that great. I mean, they did have a little bit of a bump in the last week or two. So, maybe Ares Capital it's a long-term move for him. Perhaps he's, just buying it bit by bit. I'm not seeing a whole lot of it. Let me see here. Yeah, so you can see the size of the trade. Less than one here, less than $1,000. So you can always, sort for like size of trade. Why somebody who has that much money would trade $150 worth of stock makes no sense to me. But if you look at the money bags here, you can kind of say, okay, this person, okay, this is at least a $15,000 trade. 10 August, you got Bill Keating investing in PepsiCo, right? And it looks like he lost on that trade too. But a lot of these guys, they're gonna trade based on long term. So he put anywhere from 15,000 to 50,000 into PepsiCo, right? And a lot of these people, they're like dollar cost averaging. But, a lot of these stocks are kind of following what the market is generally doing. And he could have thought he was buying the dip like a lot of people. So, what you can do, though, is you can go through all these old trades and look for which politician is hitting that bottom just right and see if they're consistently doing it. So, going through this capital trades with a little bit of back testing is I would go through these trades. I look for trades that are at least $1,000 or even bigger is better. Something like treasury bonds, that's more of a diversification. If you ask me, that's my own opinion. And none of this is investment advice. I'm just giving you guys a tool. You need to actually do your own research on this and, don't just take my word for it. Right. But look at here, Lois, Lois bought Johnson and Johnson. Thanks. What really grinds my gears? All right, so Johnson and Johnson, 28 August, went ahead and bought anywhere. Well, it says 172.17. Is that the amount? Can't be. It's got to be. Oh, that's the price. Okay, never mind. So anywhere from 1 to 15,000. Lois Frankel on 10 August made 3 trades. One at Johnson and Johnson, one at Kenvue, one at Willis Towers Watson PLC, and she sold J&J. Right, bought Kenvue. Right. And this is at a time, I think, when stocks were kind of falling. So, obviously selling J&J, probably going to look like she made a good trade. Yeah, she sold J&J here near the top. So good for her. So far, Lois is actually doing pretty well here. Let me see that we don't know what kind of account she has. You see here, some people have their spouse's account. Some people have a joint account. We don't know what her account is. Undisclosed. That's something that raises my antennas. Let's see how she did on Kenvue. Kenvue looks like she did buy something and it, in a time when stocks were not doing that well. Looks like she did okay, So Kenvue was a good move. So whoever is giving Lois her information seems to be pretty smart. You got here a sell of Willis Towers Watson PLC on 10 August. And you see how she did. She probably could have held on to it, but that I don't know if that was the best move. But long story short, this is a really good website if you ask me. And you're gonna, if you go through here, you might find some jewels. You might, go and you can look back through time. I mean, I looked 3,000 pages of this data. You can see who's making the smart moves. You got guys like Rudy here buying U.S. Treasury bills. A lot of these guys are buying Treasury bills. in the 5 to 6 figure amounts. So same here. Mike Garcia did it twice on August 17th. 2 buys in anywhere from 100 to 250K. Mark Garcia not messing around, buying some treasury bonds. And then treasury bills, Rudy Yakim. So anyhow, interesting website. Let me throw the link into description. Looks like we got a lot of questions from Jay. We haven't done a lot of shout outs. I haven't even put up the QR code. We just kind of jumped in this morning. So let me throw up the QR code. And I think it's also good to jump straight into the content instead of doing a commercial. A quick one real quick, like V did, is beautiful. But there's a link right here, QR code. We teach charting. We teach all the nuts and bolts of markets. Of course, we're not investment advice. You got to go talk to your licensed advisor before risking your money on the markets, because you can lose money doing that. But other than that, we teach pretty much everything we know. But a lot of questions from Jay, and we have some comments over in our private group. Robert says, happy Friday. Valentine, good morning. Jay says NAC. I'm assuming, I don't know if that's a stock. I'm not sure what NAC means, Jay. Trev says, if they don't know the capital trades is out there, could they use it? Oh, if they know it's out there, could they use it to game the plebs? Trev, I don't know. If they're, it all depends on how strict the rules are. Are we really seeing all of Nancy Pelosi's trades, right? Like if I type in Pelosi and she's got 71 trades here, right? Looks like I need to actually go by politician here. Find by name. Pelosi. Look at this crazy lady stock. So what, she's bought Apple 23 June, she bought Apple to the tune of $250,000 or higher. Microsoft Corp, she bought $500,000 or higher. So you can see some pretty big moves into tech, and tech has been doing well the last month or two. These are some pretty big moves. If she's spoofing the public, if they're putting up fake trades, that's a pretty expensive proposition. I'm not sure. Look, I don't think Capital Trade's website, I don't personally think it has a big enough footprint for them to game the plebs. I don't think enough plebs are looking at it. That's my opinion. So we got Robert Pressas, happy Friday. And says to give a thumbs up. Yeah, dude, hit the like button, subscribe, follow, do all that, please. Let's see here. Just looking at. Oh, you want to know if that congressperson is related to Jeff Sessions. I don't know. Pete Sessions, I think it is. If they're related to Jeff, I just don't know. Are there any Federal Reserve members on the list? I have no idea. I think it's just politicians. Federal Reserve members are appointed to a private banking cartel. So the Federal Reserve is not a political body. So I doubt it's on here. Jay, this is not for private members. This is for politicians, right? Capital trades. So I doubt there's any private members information on there, right? Okay, so anyway, it's a great tool though. So we just got some data in, and I'm going to be looking for some trades today. Let's refresh the screen and see how the economic data came out. What we've been noticing is that you get the data and then it gets revised, right? And I know we've been talking about this for weeks, but the data comes out to make the economy, typically, at least from what I'm reading and seeing, the data comes out to make the economy look strong because they are headed into an election year. So they'll have the economy look strong, right? But here's a problem with that. As long as the economy looks strong for the economic data, then the wisdom is that they're going to continue to hike rates. And the people in power right now are going to have a hard time because when you hike rates, money gets expensive. When money gets expensive, the market does not go up. And in fact, things start to fold. We've seen some banks go down, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic. There's been some pretty big names out there that have been having a hard time because of the higher interest rates. I think that's like kind of the root cause, A lot of these investments that have been out there, a lot of malinvestment, a lot of politically oriented investments have been doing well for a number of years because money has basically been free for like 14 years. I mean, they crushed, we looked at some charts yesterday on the Rogue Show, and they have crushed the interest rate down to like zero, basically. And they held it down to zero for more than a decade post 2008, right? Post the GFC. And when money is free for a decade, what you're doing is you're conditioning human beings to always buy the dip, because the market's just going to keep going up because money is debt. And when money is debt, that means that the interest rate on money is going to affect how cheap it is. And when the interest rate is virtually zero, that means that for the big players who have all the friends that print the money, money becomes essentially free for them. Money gets printed, it gets loaned to them at basically a 0% loan, effectively a 0% loan because of the way that the inflation is working. They get the money first. So when you get the money first, that's before it gets into the population and causes the inflation. And then what they do, the commercial banks, is they lend it out to everybody and they multiply the size of that money through fractional reserve banking. We're not going to get into that today. We've done it before on the Rogue Show. But once the money gets out there, it creates inflation. So they get the money before it creates inflation. They get the money first, they invest it, they loan it out, they position themselves. And when the money gets loaned out and expanded through commercial bank loans into the population, then the population is going to take that money. The inflation is going to take effect because the population is going to start buying stocks, they're going to start buying things, and everything goes up. That's just how it works. Because when the interest rate is low, you need to deploy cash. And the reason you need to deploy cash is that holding cash makes no sense because the interest rate is low. You're not getting any return on holding cash or bonds or anything that's related to cash. So they have to invest it to get any kind of yield. So you see these big run-ups like you've seen since like say 2012, the market has done nothing but go up. Well, we've been hiking up the interest rates. There's a lot of possible reasons and a lot of obvious reasons behind that. But long story short, now that we've hiked the interest rates, it's become less, it's become more expensive to invest in stocks. And when it becomes more expensive to invest in stocks, then the value proposition of stocks begins to matter more. And what's a value proposition? The value proposition is basically the calculated future value of something, right? So if you have a good investment, then the value proposition is going to be positive. It's going to be higher than a bad investment, right? So when money is cheap, just about like if money is cheap and you knew that it was going to be cheap forever, then in a certain kind of hypothetical sense, just about any investment is going to have a good value proposition because people need to invest their money at that point. But when money becomes expensive and the stock market is less attractive because people are pulling the money out of it, a lot of malinvestment is going to fall apart because it was being propped up by the cheap money. And so malinvestment, we can take a look at it, but I think there's a lot of projects that have bad fundamentals, a lot of your ESG projects that simply are not cost effective, not from a true economic standpoint. Stuff like that's going to fall apart. And you have a lot of banks that have a lot of paper that's based on low interest rates. And when the interest rates go up, their collateral paper is devalued. The money that was holding up the banks before is now worth less. So their collateral is falling apart, which means they're not being supported. So we're in an environment where a lot of things are falling apart because the money is getting more expensive. So the real data is coming out a month after the data in a lot of cases. You'll see these positive numbers in what you're looking at on the screen. You see a lot of green numbers where there should be red, especially on the US side. And then like a month later, we hear, oh, no, we got some more data and the data wasn't as good. It's like, for example, right now, the non-farm employment change number came out, right? And so they're saying that more jobs were added to non-farm employment than expected. They expected 169,000 to be added. We actually ended up with 187,000 added, right? But then there's the unemployment rate, and the unemployment rate is actually higher than expected. See, it's and significantly so, about 10% higher than expected. The hourly earnings month over month. So we actually have a smaller percent rise in hourly earnings month over month. You're looking at a CPI that's been in the 5 and the 6 and 7%, and yet hourly earnings only went up by 0.2%. that's a stagflationary number. People are earning less and things are costing more, and it's shown in the numbers. And these numbers are fudged because we don't know for sure which numbers are fudged, but we find out after the fact that numbers are fudged. So the left, well, I don't want to say the left, but the current administration, let's say, is in a very tough position because they want to fudge the numbers to make the economy look strong so they can say they have a strong economy coming into the next election. But at the same time, they're in trouble because the stronger the numbers look, the more likely the Powell is going to keep hiking rates. And the more the rates get hiked, the weaker the economy and the market is going to get. So they're kind of in they've painted themselves into a corner, right? By, I mean, it's in a certain sense, it has a lot to do with timing. So, I mean, yeah, sure. Trump, he had some good policies, as far as the economy, it went well while he was in, but the reality is that the interest rates were super low while he was in. They weren't hiking. In the beginning, they were hiking some rates, but he did fight to get rates down. That was a big thing for him, and the rates went down and the markets went up, and that's just how it was. There also wasn't us spending $100 billion on a war that we really shouldn't have anything to do with. So, there's a lot of things that were more proper in the Trump administration. Is that affecting the market? Maybe. But I would say that a lot of political kind of discourse about economy good, economy bad, it's downstream from economics. Economics is going to be what runs that game. So at this point, the left is the current administration is kind of at a bad time for the economy right now. And, unless something changes drastically in some very, very fundamental scenarios, then they're going to have a hard time convincing the public that they've done well for us coming up in the elections. So anyhow, so I think that's all we have time for in this public chat. So I do want to thank everybody who is on here. Thumbs up, subscribe, like. Here's QR code. Come visit us. Zap the QR code if you want to come check out what we do. We're super cheap. $50 a month is nothing. It's nothing. What we do is worth hundreds of dollars a month, and the reason I know that is because I know our competition, and we do more than them, and we cost way less. So, yep. If you get in at $49, we are going to raise the price. We actually have a metric for when we're going to raise that price. We know when that's going to be. So, if you get in at $50 a month and you don't let your membership lapse, you get to keep $50 a month. For example, I'm part of a trading group that is now $50 a month, but I got in when they were brand new and it's $8 a month, and forever it will be $8 a month for me. It's that kind of scenario. And they're going to be worth hundreds of dollars because their trading is really good and they've already more than 5 times what they've charged. So I'm in for life at a beautiful rate. And you can do yourselves a favor and get in. And even if it's like, hey, I don't have time this month. Hey, if you get in at this good rate and we raise the rates later, it's worth it. That's just my opinion. Talk to your licensed advisor, do your own research. Gorilla, can you give us that send off?
Absolutely. Listen, guys, don't procrastinate. Don't hesitate. Join us and make some profits and some gains for yourself. Your bank account will thank you. Give me 6 months of your life and your commitment, and I promise you, you grind it out over here, you're gonna be transformed forever. With that being said, Cowboy, let's get into the private lab.